Yes, hello everybody. Welcome back once again to the Dynasty Hotseat. It's the only Dynasty show out there that's a certified inferno. Do not adjust your clocks, calendars, whatever you got in front of you. This does say 2026. It is a mock draft. The college season's just started. The NFL season's just started, but we're still going to talk about the rookies for next year because we're a bunch of degenerates on here. We got Phil, the absolute legend from the Wildcard Devy team, at Posh Plays FF over on Twitter. Absolute must follow, if I must say so, Phil. Must follow over on Twitter. Great to have you back on the show, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really well, man. I'm really well. Like you said, the college season, we're only 2 weeks in, and there's storylines been served up everywhere. And what better opportunity than to look ahead and see where these guys might fall in just under a year's time.
Yeah, I can't wait to see, because I'm already excited. Only 2 weeks in, I'm already excited. So let's go. Let's get started into our mock draft. All right, boom. Phil, as always, you've come prepared. You've brought your own slides with you. Absolutely that you do that. So I don't even have to do that work at all, guys. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy listening to Phil, just like you at home as well. So, Phil, you've got your slides. Let's begin then at the very tippy top with round one, pick one. And you've gone for someone who, 12 months ago, if you told me that Cade Klubnik would realistically be the 1-1 and I wouldn't have much argument, I would have said you were crazy. I don't want to say Cinderella story, but an unexpected rise for Cade Klubnik.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So there's a couple of things that play into this, right? First of all, when you're dealing with these college players, you're talking generally 18 to 22-year-olds. No matter what the recruiting pedigree is and the recruiting profile, and Cade Klubnik was a high-profile 5-star recruit, the journey can look different. It can look really different. The developmental curves for these guys, it's not kind of exponential. It's not linear, all right? There's going to be times where things just click, whether it's system, whether it's scheme. Yeah. And year 3 for Cade Klubnik, so he sat his first year behind DJ Ungalele, and then got a start in his sophomore season, and it was bumpy at best. But then last season, things just started to click. Yeah. And towards the back end of the season, and I'd like to think I was one of the kind of first to jump back on before it was cool. I was kind of pointing out, look, we need to take this kid seriously. And he was on an absolute tear at the end of last season. Almost willed Clemson all the way to the national championship game. They ultimately fall slightly short. But look, he's tall, he's athletic, he does the right thing with the ball a lot of the time. He's got there's a common theme in college football at the moment that if they're not these uber athletes, these dual threats, they're mobile enough. Think that kind of Drake May style. There's just enough mobility there to extend plays and do what you need. He throws on the run out to his right beautifully.
Yep.
He's not started fantastic this season.
No.
But then neither have Clemson, full stop. He's not really been supported overly. There's been quite a lot of change on their offensive line, and unless that offensive line gets better, they could well fall short of their ultimate goal, which is going to be a national championship. But I still think, I backed him at 14-1 in the offseason for the Heisman. I'm still fairly certain, even though they got that early loss to LSU in week 1, I'm still fairly certain that he's going to be sniffing in and around that conversation at the end as the season progresses. And right now, until I can, this is super flex. Until there's no standout blue chip, obvious 101 screaming at you from another position like years gone by. So until someone can come along and show me that Cade Klubnik is not the guy, he's my guy.
Yeah, I was just going to bring up, not the best start to the season. Obviously, we're only 2 games in, though, and LSU, that was kind of a pick 'em anyway. It's not the end of the world for Clemson. I don't think that they lost to LSU. That was kind of a 50-50 in my chart. I'm sure we'll get to potentially the LSU quarterback a little bit later. We can chat about them and how they did. Yeah, very, very soon. For Klubnik, I don't know, Phil, maybe it is just me, but because of last season, maybe I'm now looking at him going okay, now I'm expecting this. Whereas last year was kind of hey, cool, look at this. I'm a Cade Klubnik guy. This is cool. But now I'm like, no, I need to take you as a serious prospect. So I think he does need to, go back to what he was last year, and hopefully that offensive line can help, because no issue in the wide receiver department at Clemson, right?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That room's absolutely loaded. It just, like I said, the biggest thing at the moment is the comfortable, how comfortable the interior three on their offensive line are. And until that settles down, we might not see the best of him. But he's going to win games regardless. And it's about what he puts on tape. Like, this is the thing with the college guys sometimes. We get so caught up in the wins and losses, but there's that much turnover on a college roster season in, season out, that it just matters about what he puts on tape. Not necessarily the kind of box score and not necessarily the kind of wins and loss columns. But obviously that's what people are going to get swept up in. The better season a team has, people are going to follow along and, jump on the bandwagon. Like I said, one of the things about this is the earliest we've done this. I mean, you've been amazing inviting me on to do this for year 3 now. We've been doing this, and I always like going first, but this is really early. And right now, let's see. But until then, until someone shows me he's not the guy, he's the guy.
Let's keep him as the guy. And right after him, you said we'd see him real soon. Here he is, Garrett Nussmeier, over at LSU, the guy that was successful against Cade Klubnik's Clemson team. Talk to me a little bit why you've got Nussmeier up right at the tippy top of the draft as well.
Yeah, so look, this is a guy who is not the athlete. We've said there's a trend in college football at the moment for athletic QBs, dual threat QBs. That's not Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier is the thinking man's quarterback. He's the traditional pocket passer. But when you watched that LSU Clemson game, right, there are levels to the way college quarterbacks are often asked to run an offense. And to be quite honest, a lot of the time they're not asked to run the offense. They run the play that's been told. Whereas Garrett Nussmeier, when you watched him at the line of scrimmage in a hostile environment, he was running the show. He was calling the protections. He was changing players at the line. He was playing chess. He was the chess master with the board in front of him. What he did was absolutely brilliant. And there are far cleverer people than me who can put it far more intricately in terms of the X's and O's. But it doesn't surprise me at all that people were absolutely raving about that performance because it was masterful. And NFL scouts are going to be impressed by that. What he lacks in athletic, perhaps in being a dynamic athlete, he makes up for in the smarts and the kind of mental makeup. And you look at teams that might be quarterback needy at the moment. What they want is stability and they want leadership. He's a proven leader. He's a talented player. And like I say, at the moment for me, levels-wise in terms of intelligence, he's operating above any of the QBs. It's just perhaps when you're looking at fantasy football rather than just straight-up NFL drafting, he's maybe lacking that bit of athleticism that would stop him being the top guy.
Do you think a kind of path for him would be, like best case scenario would be fantasy-wise for him is someone like a Jared Goff, right? That you're like really happy to have as a second QB, right?
Without a doubt. That's a great comp, to be fair. Kind of tall, rangy, with a full command of what's going on around him. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like Nussmeier. It's a bit of a like a throwback almost to see a guy like this. You get so many of these like hyper athletes that are obviously a hell of a lot of fun to watch as well. But it's nice to see someone stand back and pick apart as well. With Nussmeier, one thought in my head is he could almost be a victim of his own success. Whereas if he does really well this year, he's going to get picked really high up. And then he's probably going to go to a team that probably doesn't have a very good offensive line. And that could be bad for someone who's not great at escaping the pocket. That's the only thing, but maybe that's putting too many, ducks in a row for Garrett Nussmeier here. But that's my big concern for him. Or have you seen maybe he's got enough of a quick release that might not be an issue anyway for him?
I think the ideal thing, I mean, just looking at shifting the conversation slightly to teams that need a quarterback or potentially could be in line for a QB next year. If the Browns are picking high, then something's not worked this year. And despite drafting every QB there's ever been in the last draft, There might be in the market for another. There's obviously the Saints, and there's that kind of nepotism pick attached to that because his dad's the OC at the Saints. The Rams, right? The Rams have 2 first-round picks next year and a 37-year-old Matt Stafford with a glass back.
I like that spot.
They could be aggressive and look for their heir apparent. And it wouldn't surprise me, again, the Steelers. Now, the Steelers are a team, if he does fall ever so, to the middle of the first round, that could be a lovely spot for him, as much as I get that in the AFC North. Then there's other teams with QBs under contract, but they've got out. If Bryce don't turn things around, they may choose to, not exercise the 5th-year option and might choose to re-roll. You've got the Seahawks. It's a really team-friendly deal with Sam Darnold, even though it's 3 years. They can get out after a year if they wanted to. So if Sam doesn't take those guys forward, again, there's nothing to say that as good as Justin Fields looked for fantasy last week, all right, there's nothing to say that the Jets are long-term committed to him. So there's plenty of options, which is why I've peppered so many QBs into this draft. But, the other fear is he ends up somewhere with a terrible O-line, and it's a risky run, isn't it?
Absolutely. So this one, he's going to play as well as he can. He's just not going to worry about any offensive lines right now. He's just worried about getting LSU as far as possible. Before we move on to pick number 3, just want to say, guys, if you're here and you're new and you've not already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. We got plenty of mock drafts coming up if this is your kind of thing. We got loads of other Dynasty content as well. Be great if you could stick around. And let's move on to pick number 3. You're sticking with QB and a guy. If you follow me over on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, you'll know I put out a weekly list of players who have impressed me. This guy's on this list for this week after his week 2 performance. Talk to me about John Mater, please, Phil.
Yeah, so John Mater is right. Just watch the tape and have fun. Watch the tape and have fun. I think Todd McShay said it best on his podcast last week when he said, sometimes in a QB's evaluation, you've got to remove some of the things that you'd fundamentally look for. The footwork can be flawed. The mechanics are unusual, but he is just an out-and-out gamer. He's a gunslinger. He gives you all the Brett Favre feels and the peak Aaron Rodgers feels. He will make plays that don't look like they're there. He'll put his body on the line. I suppose that's kind of a good and a bad because one of these hits might get him hurt. But he fights for every yard. He takes things out there. He does it on the ground and in the air. Through 2 games this season, including one of those been against Michigan, he's got 662 yards in the air and well over 150 yards on the ground through 2 games. He does, on the flip side of that, have 2 picks because he will take chances. I think you've got to take the rough with the smooth. But right now, he's the guy. Like, I had him, when I first drafted this a couple of days ago, I had him down at 107. And I ended up getting sucked into watching some All-22 just this evening. And from the Michigan game this last weekend. And I just bumped him. I just bumped him up because he, for me, is the one that this might seem really early at the moment. And maybe based on what we've seen so far, he's only been an SEC quarterback for 2 weeks. Last season, he was playing in the FCS at Washington State before transferring in the summer. But this is the guy for me who is on that rise. He's on that kind of steep curve upwards this year. And if things keep going as they're going, the sky's the limit because he's got everything you want in a fantasy quarterback. Like I say, from an NFL mechanics point of view, he may worry some scouts. It's not quite all there, but he's got the traits and that kind of gamerism that you want in your fantasy QB.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to keep notes on players as I go every week as well. I was having a read back on my tweets, and I've got one big note in caps with John Mater, and it's just the word hustle. He just hustles, right? He gets after it and goes for it. He's a hell of a lot of fun to watch, and I can't wait to see more Oklahoma games and see what he's going to do. But I love that he's up at pick number 3. Let's see if we keep that quarterback run going. We don't. We go to Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. Tell me a little bit about Jordan Tyson, why he's the first wide receiver coming off the board for you, at least for now.
Yeah, so for me, there's one blue chip prospect in two positions. There's one wide receiver and one running back. And Jordan Tyson is already setting himself apart from the pack for me. He's big, he's strong. For a big guy, he runs excellent routes. Really weirdly, in the offseason, I saw him comped to Deebo Samuel, which I found really bizarre because other than the thick, sturdy frame, there's very little similarity in the way they play. He's a nuanced route runner for a big guy, which is exactly what Deebo isn't. And I've never seen him take a handoff in the backfield. So I was really confused by that one. But think that thick, stocky build, tall. The hands were the one concern. But if you've watched the last couple of weeks, he's really, really worked hard on it in the summer. It's just unusual to see a guy with his size and his profile run routes with the precision and crispness that he does from the outside. The touchdown pass in week 1 that he took on a kind of fade into the back of the end zone, watching the ball kind of drop over him before he drags both feet in bounds. It was an NFL catch. It wasn't even a college catch where they've got to have one foot in bounds. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. He's playing with a QB who could well be in the draft conversation this year, but I've not included him in this because I think he's going to come back in 2027 in Sam Levitt. And these two are going to push each other all the way in terms of heightening each other's draft stock. I think he's excellent. Like, it's one of, dare I say it, the few mistakes that Deion Sanders has made in his time as a college coach, because he was originally at Colorado. And when Prime came into Colorado and brought with him the Shedeur Sanders Express and the Travis Hunter Express, he basically kicked a load of guys out and said, "You're not good enough for my team. I'm going to bring my guys in. I'm going to go portal heavy." And Jordan Tyson was one of the guys that he kicked out. He'd actually led Colorado in receptions that year before. And now he's looking like, arguably, other than that kind of 2027 crop with your Jeremiah Smiths and those really high-profile names that we've got to work that bit longer for me, Tyson is the elite guy available this year.
And you kind of picked up on it there a little bit, mentioning his quarterback. With these 4 players so far, are you fairly confident we'll see all 4 of these enter the draft next year? Because there is some question marks about, are they 26? Are they 27? What's going to happen? Do you think all 4 of these guys will appear in the 26 draft?
Yes. And in this, I have tried to play that bias. So I've left out Sam Levitt. People will be sat there now going, well, what about Arch Manning? I firmly believe, and Jack and I have said on the Devy podcast for the last 6 or 7 months, and now, again, everyone seems to be catching up and going, no, he won't come out till 2077. We've been saying it for ages. If you don't believe us, check us out. But I've played that kind of bias towards guys that we are expecting, or I am expecting to see. I'm fairly confident that Jordan Tyson, unless something tragic happens in the rest of this season, he projects to be the wide receiver 1 in this class.
Absolutely love it. So he's locked in at 104 for you at the minute. And then this is the running back blue chip you're talking about, right? Jeremiah Love in at 5. Notre Dame, that first game, I was just screaming, where is he? What's going on?
Yeah, and that is a concern. So look, Jeremiah Love is strong, quick. Yeah. He's everything you look for in a high caliber running back. He has all the skills and all the traits to be a bell cow and take those key carries. He plays well in the passing game as well. That Miami game in week 1 was baffling because we said it on our last pod. It is a concern. Throughout, he got banged up in the national championship game against Ohio State and ended up coming out the game, not finishing it. He then has suffered with kind of soft tissue, muscular injuries, like throughout the offseason. And his activity during the offseason training programs and fall camp was very heavily limited. But all the communication was, he's okay. We're just managing him through sensibly. So we were expecting him to be full go week 1. Now, whether the game script just got away from them because they fell into a hole, I don't really know. But 10 carries for 33 yards was just strange when he is the offense's best weapon. So it's one to monitor. They didn't have a game week 2. They do play this week. So yeah, it's one that we've got to keep an eye on, because it's right to be concerned because we want to see those best players playing. But there is absolutely no doubt in the boxes he ticks from a scouting profile. We just need to make sure that this isn't a lingering injury that's going to affect his season too much, and that it was just, dare I say it, I think Marcus Freeman's a hell of a coach in Notre Dame, but mismanagement on the day, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe. Do you have any fear that this is maybe the next sort of incantation of an Ollie Gordon, or do you think Love is just a different beast as a prospect than Ollie Gordon ever was?
No, I think there's in his makeup there's just a whole lot more to his game. Although fair play to Ollie Gordon, he seems to be turning heads again, but that might be just the other lack of options in Miami's room.
Yeah, I think there's not much to get excited about over there, so they'll take anything they can get. But hopefully we'll see the best of Jeremiah Love coming up in the rest of the season. Let's go to number 6. My quarterback 1 currently for this class, I got to say, Phil. I'm only 2 weeks in, but I like me some Lenore Sellers. You got him at 6. Talk to me about Lenore Sellers. He's so much fun.
So this is... I wager that when you do these throughout the season, and I will watch them weekly, fortnightly, whenever they drop, because I love these shows, I will wager this will be lower than anybody else has Lenoris Sellers. I think Lenoris Sellers will normally be in those top 2, top 3 picks. And I believe because of his physical makeup, his rare athleticism, he will be a lot of people's 101. But for me, there are red flags. I don't think he's started the season showing any more development in his passing game than needed to be shown at the end of last year. The big question for me at the end of last year was, yes, we know he can run. Yes, we know he's a dual threat. But where are the refinements in his passing mechanics? Where's the refinement in the touch on his throws? Through 2 weeks, I've just not seen it to the extent I would want to really feel comfortable in take. Look, I'll just level with it. Taking him this high. I've done as you well know, Mags. I've done something this last couple of off seasons, putting QBs through the old-fashioned Parcells methodology for drafting QBs. Lenoris Sellers doesn't score well here. Like through that metric, he does not tick many of the boxes at all. And I said on our podcast a while back, like, we see the talent. It is so easy to fall in love with the physical traits and the highlight packages of him trucking linebackers out and out toward the sidelines and things like that. But given the lack of experience, given the wobbly development in his passing, you get a range of outcomes with these dynamic dual threat quarterbacks. Like there's like a pendulum that goes from Jaden Daniels and a Jalen Hurts all the way through to an Anthony Richardson at the other end. With a Jalen Milroe sat somewhere down that bottom end as well, where the talent's there and you see it in flashes and it makes you believe, but then you don't see the development in the things that you need from him to be an effective quarterback in the NFL. Like, how many people drank the Kool-Aid on Anthony Richardson? I know I did. I set a dynasty team back the best part of 5 years by taking him at the 102. It's so easy to do. And I worry that is it chicken to let past wounds like affect how you draft moving forward, or do we learn lessons and say, actually, as tantalizing as bits of the tape are, is it all there pieced together yet? And for me, just right now, it's not. I've dropped him to 106 because at the moment there's still that kind of consensus split on him actually being in the class. One or two things are going to happen. Either guests further forward and further down the line, Mags, are going to have him right the way up there at the top end because they believe in the traits, or we're going to get noise that he goes back in 2026 and plays and declares in 2027 to get that experience that we've seen in the last couple of years translate so well to NFL quarterbacks. Take your Bo Nixes, take your Jaden Daniels. These guys weren't on radars at all until they went back and got that experience. Lenoris Sellers could well follow suit if we don't see the development we want this year.
That experience I've seen is maybe the most important trait actually in the last couple of years for any quarterback coming out. It was something wild, like if a player had played less than a certain amount of games, they had essentially no chance in the NFL. So it's important to gather that experience. For me, Lenore Sellers, the big knock that I have on him, and maybe it's down to what his surrounding cast is at South Carolina. I wish he would try a bit. Sounds weird. I wish you'd try and do a bit less. Like, don't always try and be the hero. Don't make it the Lenore Sellers show. Like, give your teammates a chance to do some of the work instead of going for the big bomb down the field. You know, like let's put a little like crossing route in there. Like mix it up a little bit. I feel like he's trying too hard. Maybe. Do you get that with Sellers sometimes?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, if Shane Beamer and the team at South Carolina are so convinced that Lenoris Sellers is this gold mine that can take them all the way, they didn't really back him in the portal with a wide receiver room that can help him. You know, they're relying on Nick Harbour, who, if you've not seen, is 6'5".
Yeah.
He's built like Calvin Johnson and runs a 100 meters as quick as Tyreek Hill. The guy is a freak, but he also doesn't have the most reliable hands, it's fair to say at this moment. He's very undercrafted and underdeveloped in terms of being a wide receiver. He's massively, at the moment, just an athlete running around and trying to make plays. Outside of him this year, they've got an interesting sophomore, a guy called Matsio Bennett. But right now, again, he's young. He's not really a chain mover and a really dynamic weapon. He's more potential at the moment. But yeah, it just really surprises me they didn't go out and back him and, you know, help Lenoris Sellers with a bevy of weapons that can do these different roles for him.
What I'd love is if they threw Vakari Swain some passes, but apparently he's a quarterback. But he's been doing punt returns for them, and he's been amazing. But I looked it up, and he's sadly a quarterback, so he can't be throwing him too many passes, unfortunately. But he's a lot of fun to watch, as is Lenore Sellers for sure. So let's move on. Next, another quarterback. We got Fernando Mendoza, quarterback out of Indiana. The guy I know a little bit less about, I gotta say. Mendoza, has he always been at Indiana? Was he a portal guy?
He hasn't. You'll see the graphic at the top. He transferred this summer from Cal.
I thought it sounded familiar, the name, yeah.
Yeah. So things just fit right for certain players. And he's moved to an Indiana team. Basically, he's taken a step up in competition. He is playing on a very good team that is very well coached under Kurt Signetti. And basically, when I did that Bill Parcells exercise in the summer, there was a lot of boxes that he could have ticked if he wasn't playing at an absolutely dog-toss Cal side the last couple of years. He's not going to hit the win metrics. He's not going to hit some of the touchdown to interception things potentially because he was having to do too much. But when you strip that back and watch him in this new system, he's a really, really good passer of football. It's beautiful watching him throw a ball. The touch, the timing, the accuracy to all levels of the field. You talk about ball placement. He can drive it in there when it's right. He can feather it when it needs it as well. And he plays well within structure, but equally, he's one of these guys who is really good at looking around and sussing when something's breaking down and finding that way out and moving the chains and just giving them, right, we can go again. He's not going to bust one to the house. He's not taking things 40, 50 yards. He's not got that type of speed. But what he has got is he's got the smarts, he's got the awareness, and he's got the wheels to just get out, reset the downs, and go again. He's a very, very good quarterback, and people are just starting to take note. He's the guy for me where situation could be everything. I think he's right now, he's potentially a round 2 guy. We know that if he gets drafted in the NFL in round 2, that the hit rate on round 2 QBs drops significantly. But he's the type of guy to me who could end up middle to late of the first round at a Pittsburgh and then be the guy there for the next 10 years. He's got the talent, he's got the smarts. He's only just moved to a situation that's really going to allow him to show how good he is. But I'm excited for him. He was a guy that in Devy drafts this offseason, I took in a lot of the kind of mid to late rounds, as I don't tend to draft QBs high. I tend to wait for transfer guys who have played a bit more football and shown me a bit of something. And he was one that I was, if he was falling to the third, I was taking him every time. I'll take my gamble on him. Because with the third round Devy pick, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to make sure to tune into some more Indiana and get a better read on Fernando Mendoza. I got no notes on him at the minute, Phil, but I'll be taking interest in Fernando moving forward for sure. And let's go to pick number 8. It's Carnell Tate. I'm sure people expected to see Carnell Tate on this list at some stage, overshadowed perhaps by other wide receivers, maybe called Jeremiah, on that team. But we just seen this weekend a guy called Emeka Egbuka, who was overshadowed for years by all of his teammates, crush it in his debut in the NFL. Carnell Tate, can he take that Egbuka route where people are maybe underlooking him, but he's still a damn good player?
You've got that absolutely in a nutshell. Sign me up to the Emeka Egbuka development plan, because Egbuka played that way last season. He had to wait on, dare I say, scraps, because everybody is looking for Jeremiah Smith. It is going to be the same this year for Carnell Tate.
Yeah.
But and funnily enough, like Carnell Tate was someone that kind of towards the back end of last year, I think people were expecting a breakout in a sophomore season because he'd flashed as a freshman. It never really quite happened. There were moments. He played very well in the Northwestern game when he went back to his home city of Chicago and caught a couple of touchdowns. But by and large, he didn't get the run, or maybe we didn't see the next step. And so a lot of people were dinging him this offseason and saying, maybe he's not the guy. He can't do this. He can't do that. Well, he started this year in exactly the same way Emeka Egbuka started last season. The clear number 2 to Jeremiah Smith, but he is making the most of his opportunities when they are thrown his way. He is not, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think he's dropped a ball that's gone his way across 2 games.
Yeah.
He has 7 receptions across those 2 games for 118 yards and a big-time score in each game. He has a touchdown in each game. Now, if he can just keep plugging away, there'll be a game where he has 100 yards. But if he can stay in that 50 to 100-yard range reliably, week in, week out for his his first-year starting quarterback in Julian Saint, he's going to end up in a situation, I can see it, mid to late first round, back end of the first, somewhere between 20 and 25, a good team, and he's going to go, and he is going to be a pro, just like Emeka Egbuka is doing for the Bucs right now. I've got no doubt whatsoever. So sign me up. I took tons of Egbuka at the back end of the first, in that kind of range, that 1.8 to 110 last year. And I will happily do exactly the same with if I have those picks next year for Carnell Tate.
Yeah, what I really about Tate is, like I said, reviewing my notes on him. It's very easy to make notes on players. Like, we talked about Jeremiah Love. You can just see the physicality. Like, you can just see it's so easy to spot. But Tate, the notes I have on him are that he's got superb body control and he finds leverage really, really well on the defenders that he's playing against. And the fact that I could spot that so easily already just shows how good Carnell Tate is at that. That at this stage, I should really only be saying, this guy's tall, this guy's fast. But I'd be like, this guy's a smooth operator already. I can see that. So that's really promising for Carnell Tate. And you expect him to declare as well, he's not going back to play with Jeremiah Smith.
He won't, right? He won't go back. The pipeline at Ohio State, they've got guys chomping at the bit.
Crazy.
This is his opportunity. Next year's class looks so deep. This is his chance to get the first round draft capital. He'll be a pro and he'll be in the league doing things in that short to intermediate game for years and years and years.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's roll on for Carnell Tate. And let's go to Makai Lemon, who's over at USC, who, again, I'm not watching a lot of USC this year. Do they kind of stink this year? Are they okay this year? I've heard mixed reports.
USC is really interesting. So there's been a big turnover, lots and lots of kind of roster change and things like that. And dare I say it, they're a team that is building ready to be strong and competitive next season. They're recruiting incredibly well. I think they've got one of the strongest recruiting classes in the country at the moment for the next batch that are incoming. Look, Mackay Lemon is... I'll tell you now, I'm going to make my call. When the Dynasty show starts doing their work and really getting into the rookies in the run-up to the draft, this will be Ali's guy.
Nice.
Calling it now. This will be Ali's guy. He's not Lad McConkey, but he's a technical route runner. He's a really savvy route runner, reliable hands, good in short areas, but he's also got the speed to take the top off. That's the difference. But yeah, really, really well polished, good hands. He's a first round receiver. Like that, he's not going to blow you away with anything. He's just good, just really good. Like that's the best comp I can, the best compliment I can give him. If you get the opportunity, for anyone watching who's not seen it, go and find his one-handed catch from this weekend past. Unbelievable, because it's not a one-handed grab kind of OBJ style where he's pulling it back from over his head. He just vice grips it out the air.
Johnny Hopkins,
it sticks to his hand. It's unbelievable. And he does it with a DB. Basically, the DB gets called for defensive pass interference because he's hanging from him. So he does it through that contact as well. It's impressive. And yeah, he's going to carry on doing the work all season long. He's already kind of working at a rate per game which far exceeds what he's done previously. He's got 11 receptions for 248 yards through 2 games with a TD in each game. And he's one that last year I'd not watched enough of, so I made a real effort to make sure that I'm taking his tape in and taking his games in. And yeah, I like what I see.
I'm going to do the exact same. I think I'm going to get some USC up and have a little look at Mackay Lemon for sure, along with some Indiana as well. I'm getting some homework to do here, Phil. I want to look at as many of these guys as possible. Why it's so good to do these so early. One guy who I have been watching, Antonio Williams over at Clemson. I got to say, he's not I have a soft spot for Tyler Brown. I can't lie. He's my favorite Clemson receiver, but he's not getting too much of the action because it's Antonio Williams is undoubtedly the main guy there for the 26th draft class anyway, right?
Absolutely. And at the next level, profiles as an out-and-out slot receiver. But we've known about him forever. He seems to be one of the guys that in the Devy community we've known since he was a freshman, and we've waited. And for me this year, as long as he has a healthy season, obviously he missed the vast majority of his second season with injury after flashing as a freshman. He came back and was Cade Klubnik's safety blanket last year. Put up big numbers as Clemson looked stronger and stronger as the year went on. Worryingly, he came out of that LSU game in the first or second defensive drive with a hamstring. I don't know, because college injury reports are a lot less detailed than NFL ones. They don't really give you a great deal at all. We need to monitor how serious that is and hope that it doesn't keep him out of sight, out of mind for too long. But look, he's one of those guys now where he's put enough on tape to know just how good he is. He's a chain mover who can play out the slot. He's a decent returner as well. He could be a dynamic returner at the next level. Look, he's another one that will be there and there for a long time, no doubt about it.
Do you think anything's going to hold him back? I know Clemson, they've got obviously Tyler Brown, who I mentioned. They got Wesco. They've got I'm blanking on. They've got another receiver as well.
TJ Moore as well, haven't they?
Yeah. Do you think that could hold him back? That there are so many mouths to feed over there at Clemson, or are you maybe harkening back to what you said before? It's all about just putting things on tape. Doesn't matter about huge games now and then. It's just get enough on the tape.
Yeah. So the tape that he's already put together, particularly last season, will be enough to show scouts exactly what he can do. obviously, what I like about the Clemson wide receiver room, so you mentioned two guys there in TJ Moore and Bryant Wesker, who, along with Antonio Williams, they complement each other. Like, it's like Clemson have Daniel Jeremiah on the Moving the Sticks podcast always talks about your wide receiver room being like a basketball team. You want different guys with different skills to do different things. You've got Wesker, who takes the top off. You've got your kind of powerful X guy who can do a little bit of everything in TJ Moore. Then you've got Antonio Williams, who's like a move piece. He's a move piece. He can play inside. He can play outside. But he's at his most effective at the slot. He can run those nice little kind of routes across the middle. But equally, he's the guy in the slot that if he can get a mismatch, he's quite willing to just fly and just kind of run that deep route from that position and take advantage of those mismatches. You've got to be really careful in how you cover him. So they complement each other. So I wouldn't be too worried about him not getting the work. My biggest concern would be, how bad is this hamstring? How long does it keep him out? Because obviously it's not the first injury he's had. You know, you'd want to be sure that he's fully healthy. But on the grounds that he is, back end of the first, you'd be delighted with this as your pick.
Yeah, 100% at 110. That's great for him. And we move on. We got another running back. We've got Jonah Coleman coming out of Washington. Now, he was at Washington last year. I believe I first watched him 2 years ago and described him as like a cannonball, basically. He's this little round, like this little like ball of energy. I'm pretty sure that's the same guy.
It is indeed. So he's now a senior. He played at the FCS level in his first couple of years, moved to Washington last year. He has started. Jonah Coleman is a name that has been on kind of Devy radars for a long time. But it was really a question, I think, in this running back class at the moment of who's going to emerge to be the guy. Yeah. And outside of Jeremiah Love, nobody has really grasped that kind of mantle yet. Other people have flashed, but right now he's the one who has started this year like an absolute house on fire. So far through 2 games, 39 carries, 288 yards and 7 touchdowns. 7 touchdowns.
That's mad.
Like an average of 7.4 yards per carry. Like, and just that analogy you used there about him looking like he's been shot out of a cannonball. College football's massive, right? And even for someone, and I've said this multiple times, who was an absolute Devy junkie like I am, sometimes when a side like Washington are playing out on the West Coast, their games aren't until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And with the best will in the world, by that time, I've stacked it. There's no way I can stay up and see those games. So quite often, I see the box score, but I don't see the tape. So I hadn't seen loads of him other than kind of highlights that make X and things like that. So to watch a couple of like his games with a bit more interest this year, particularly when he's putting up those lofty numbers, I've been blown away. The speed is better than I thought. And right now, I just think this draft is screaming for a running back to take hold and step up. And through 2 weeks, it's been Jonah Coleman. So why not project him there and say that this carries on?
Yeah, exactly. Why not? He started like a house on fire. So let's keep it going as well. And maybe he'll be the second NFL running back to get a mustard deal as well after Bijan, right? Absolutely. So we'll move on swiftly. Hey, it's Carson Beck. You know what? Last year, I kind of went out on a whim and was like, I don't really like Carson Beck. And last year, he kind of proved me sort of right to an extent. He wasn't great. But I don't know, something about him in the orange in Miami. I like what I'm seeing, Phil. I don't know why, but so far so good.
Look, there's a couple of things that stand out right now. If you'd have told me 3 months ago, I'd have been putting him in the back end of the first round of a fantasy draft, I probably would have laughed.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of things here where there are things that he has working for him. Carson Beck has that experience that we said is so crucial. Yeah. So crucial in terms of projecting success at the next level. And there was some bad tape last year. There's no getting away from that. There was also him trying to lead a receiver room that wasn't very well put together, playing through significant injuries without what he'd had the year before in his first year as a starter, where he had Lad McConkey and Brock Bowers. How, you lose those guys and replace them respectfully with, I think Mel Kiper calls them other occupation guys who probably aren't going to go on to the NFL. And there was regression. Now, he's not blameless in that. He made poor choices. The reads didn't always look like they were there. He looked slow with his footwork and he looked heavy. But and then he has this transfer to Miami. And all of a sudden, he's making the headlines for the wrong reasons in the offseason. He takes some, I don't know if it was a Ferrari or some kind of outrageous sports car, leaves it somewhere public and it gets stolen. Then he gets the celebrity girlfriend that he splits up with, and it's this big drama. And then you get into fall camp, and all of a sudden, it's like he's hired this amazing marketing firm, because all of a sudden you get these little nuggets of Carson Beck looks good. The coaches really like him. People are really impressed with what Carson Beck's doing and the way he's running the offense. And then you see that Notre Dame game, and he wasn't perfect. He forced a couple of throws to his receivers that he got lucky with. But he looked lighter in the pocket. He was moving better, waiting to follow his reads. He wasn't stood like a plant pot like he'd been the year before at Georgia. He looks healthier. And all the time, in addition to that, he's building that experience now of playing in another system. And I just think the community, the Devy community in particular, was so quick to write him off. He's a bust. He's a bum. He's not going to. But this is what happens when you anoint a guy and kind of announce him as a potential 101, like he was being banded around last season. We kind of christened him and said he was going to do these things just because he was the QB at Georgia, who had Brock Bowers and Lad McConkey the year before. It's not always going to be that smooth kind of development. And I think he's made some ballsy calls for him that are starting to reap rewards. And I don't know how it'll go, but right now he's playing as well as any QB that's draft eligible through 2 weeks of college football. We saw what that move to Miami did for Cam Ward last year.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying for a moment he's going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft, but I do think he's someone who, again, could force his way into late day one of the NFL draft, in which case a starting QB at the back end of the first, you wouldn't be mad at it.
As long as he's got CJ Daniels making catches like he did in week 2, he'll be absolutely fine. If you've not seen that, please look it up. It was amazing. Do you think, last thing on Beck, do you think, and no disrespect to any, Miami fans out there, the weight of the Miami jersey, not the same as the weight of the Georgia jersey, right? Think that's helping him?
Quite possibly. I think it also helps that he's playing in a much, much better scheme this year. They've got an outstanding offensive line that's protecting him a little bit better. And yeah, he just seems, dare I say it, shackle free. So yeah, maybe there is something to that.
Yeah, maybe. I'm enjoying watching him, which I wouldn't have thought I would have said a few months ago. So yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Carson Beck. And hey, Phil, guess what? Round 2 you've got as well, which is so exciting. We don't normally get to round 2 until well after Christmas. So we're going to start off with round 2. We'll maybe go through some of these guys a little bit quicker. And we'll start with Kenyon Sadiq, the first tight end off the board. They're so hard. It's so hard to call the tight ends this early. It's hard to call them, towards the end of the year. But this early, what puts Kenyon Sadiq at the top of your list for tight ends?
The all-round package. He does a little bit of everything. Shows up in the receiving game. Blocks well, which is going to keep him on the field primarily. I know it doesn't score fantasy points, but if you want your tight end on the field, they need to be able to block. He is an emerging threat. People don't know enough about him yet. All off season, he was just a buzzy name. This name seemed to appear out of nowhere. but through the first 2 weeks, he looks the mustard. Obviously, we'll see just how that goes over the rest of the season. But he just moves different. Like he's so smooth for a big guy. And I think unless something goes wrong, he'll be the pick of the bunch.
Absolutely love it. Kenan Sadiq, first tight end coming off the board. This is my guy. This is my guy. This is why I was watching Washington, not for Jonah Coleman. I love me some Denzel Boston. You got him in the second round. He's got potential to get to the first, I think, if he pulls everything together, Phil, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. Good hands, big, strong, boundary X receiver. And yeah, you're right. He's playing with a really dynamic quarterback this year in Damon Williams, who is going to wear it out to him. He is the main target. He's going to feast in that offense.
Yeah.
Would like to see, I suppose, just a little bit of work on separation packages. At the moment, it seems to be much more, speed and power based rather than any kind of real nuance. But he's a big guy, good red zone target, reliable hands. I've got him in any CFF kind of college fantasy I'm playing, whether it's the Tadpole Bowl, whether it's kind of C2C leagues. He's my guy because I think he's got a skill set that is going to translate to a Sunday. With those kind of sticky hands. Like I said, just until you see that kind of refinement in perhaps the separation skills, just can't quite stick my neck on the line for him in the first yet.
Yeah, you want to take almost a page out of Washington alumni Rome Odunze's book, and even though he was that big guy, that big red zone threat, still had that refinement to his game as well. Hopefully, he can get in and watch some Rome Odunze tape and add some of his wrinkles to his game. That would do him a lot of good. But he's a lot of fun to watch. He's at 2-2. I'm surprised by this one. I have to say, Drew Aller at 2-3. A lot of people, I think, maybe would have heard the name Drew Aller and thought, oh, he should be way up in the first round. What makes him slide down to 2-3 for you?
So for me, he is still playing in one of the most stacked teams in the country. Yeah. But he's not the guy. He's not the catalyst that makes them tick. He's got all the measurables, all the desirable traits you could possibly want, but he just never quite seems to have put it all together in a sustained way that, look, for me, if you're going to take a QB high, he needs to be like, use that kind of truck and the trailer analogy. You want the guy to be a truck. He's not. The trucks in that team are his running backs. And obviously last year it was his tight end in Tyler Warren. He's the trailer. He just plays the game based around what they need. Now, you might argue that's the system, and in the NFL, he could do something different. I just haven't seen it to believe it. And in the biggest moments, he's got in his own way. The mistakes have been his that have caused Penn State to lose in the biggest moments so far. So until I see that change, I'm not as in as an awful lot of people. He's not my guy. I don't know what he'd have to do for me. There's maybe a little bit of subconscious bias in there now, but he's just not my guy. I don't know what I'd have to see to make me really believe that he's going to translate to the next level.
How sick are you going to be of people saying he's the next Josh Allen? Because I'm seeing that already, and I think it's just because he's a big, strong white guy.
I mean, that's it. But Josh Allen can run. I'm not overly sure Drew Aller, can do that. I mean, there's going to be some inevitable comps, isn't there? But that's a strange one to me because
people come Drake May to Josh Allen. It's like, no, just because he's a tall white guy doesn't mean he's Josh Allen. Please stop, everybody.
Yeah. I don't know. Miss me with that one. Like I said, I don't know what I need to see. I just know that I've not seen it yet.
Perfect. So he's there for now anyway in a 2-3. Right next to him, Nicholas Singleton. I'm surprised you have him over his teammate, who rumor has it you like more.
Yeah, I do, but there's also that kind of thing of actually when we're putting these together, are we are we doing it based on what we believe or
Yeah.
what we believe should happen or what will happen? So there's that.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
always
yeah.
that kind of middle ground, isn't there? Nicholas Singleton's a name that everyone has known for a long, long time.
Yep.
He is very, very dynamic as an athlete. He had a big bounce back season last year after a truly abysmal sophomore season. Ironically, the graphics missing his head because that's how he runs sometimes, like he's not got a brain on his shoulders. Look, I trust my eyes. I've always been very critical of him. It was a joke in the early Devy shows that I hated Nick Singleton. I don't hate him. I was just again not willing to name him the next Bijan. Like, he kind of came through in his freshman season, the year we lost Bijan, and there he was, this excellent athlete, and people were quick to say, "Well, that's our next guy. That's the next one. And they were giving him that crown before he'd done anything to earn it.
Yeah.
I still don't think he's earned it. I think he flashes, but over relies on his athleticism as opposed to his ability to read his blocks and be a kind of technician of the position behind his offensive line. He does offer PPR chops. He's decent in the receiving game, which is why you can never discount him entirely. But yeah, for me, he's still not there in terms of the refinement you want for a back to be truly effective at the next level. I do acknowledge the athleticism. I acknowledge the kind of PPR ability, but unless he knows which hole he's supposed to attack and does it correctly at the right time, so instead of just, he's got a habit of trying to bounce things to the outside for no reason. He's got if you watch his tape, particularly from year 2, he tries to take holes that aren't there. It takes him an age to wait for the right kind of hole to emerge, and then doesn't always choose to take it anyway. He's got a bad habit of running into the back of his own tackles.
I noticed that. Yep.
You know, but what he will do then with his insane athleticism is take 180 yards and you go, shit, okay, maybe he can do it. Like, but I don't need that inconsistency. I'll miss him, or if he's there in the second at this point, I'll gladly take him. People will probably snip him up first, and that'll be their loss for me.
Yeah, he was one that we thought was maybe going to declare last year, and every time someone came on the show and talked about taking Nicholas Singleton, I was just said I don't see it, I don't get it. Like I'm right there with you, Phil. I'm more of a Katron Allen guy. I've seen more like flashes out of him, I think, than Nick Singleton. But maybe there's something that we're both missing. Who knows? But yeah,
even this year, Katron Allen's done more with his carries. Like, I think they got a very even split this last weekend. But Katron Allen's went for almost double the yards per carry.
Only one of them made my list for this weekend. That's a spoiler. Yeah, exactly. It's not Nick. It's not Nick Singleton. Absolutely. So he's still at 204. And right after him, we got another Singleton, this time Eric Singleton Jr., wide receiver over at Auburn. Look at that. Look at that picture. Fantastic snap of him there. Tell us about Eric Singleton Jr., please, Phil.
Eric Singleton Jr. has the potential to take Xavier Worthy's combine 40. Ooh. He's that fast. Yeah. And it shows up on tape as well. It shows up in the game. It's really interesting that he transferred to Auburn this year because he is an absolute blazer. Now, Auburn have got a guy called Cam Coleman who projects to be an absolute alpha of an outside receiver. What is missing from Eric Singleton's box scores in these early couple of games at Auburn is the attention he demands on those vertical routes where he is so fast, you've got to commit bodies to covering him. And that is freeing up gaps for the rest of the Auburn offense, either for Jackson Arnold to pull the ball down and run because the kind of, the spy has had to leave the QB and follow the deep threat. Or again, it frees up other receivers because the safety's got to drop and commit to staying deep with Singleton. There was a touchdown play in week 1 where you clearly see him pull the kind of law of 2 defenders away because that speed is such a real threat if you don't. But that's not to say That's all he is. He's got good hands. He's got good hands. He's a good catcher. Through 2 games so far, 7 receptions, 84 yards, and 2 TDs. I just don't know with what regularity he's going to be a dominant target in the NFL. Like I don't feel comfortable, despite loving him as a player, and I would love to have him on the Baltimore Ravens. Like, but I couldn't say with any conviction whether at the next level he commands a target share good enough to warrant capital any higher than this in a rookie draft.
Yeah. That's kind of fair, isn't it? You need to see where he comes out, and is he that number 2 receiver, which is fine a lot of times, but yeah, in the second round you're more than comfortable taking a guy like that, I'm sure. And right after, man, this guy's first week started off hot. He made my ones to watch list from week 1, just transferred over to Michigan. Justice Haynes, not to be messed with. Let's say that about him. This guy's a big bruiser.
Absolutely. So Justice Haynes was a 5-star recruit, committed to Alabama, spent 2 seasons at Alabama in a bit part role. He never really managed to get a lead on the job, despite when he did get touches, looking like the most dynamic and best running back that we had. So I think frustration basically got the better of him, and he was going to find himself stuck. Alabama has this kind of tradition of, if the longest serving guy on the team isn't a dud, the longest serving guy is going to play. And that role kind of looked like it was going to be Jam Miller's again this year, even though Justice Haynes is probably a more talented back. So he saw an opportunity to transfer to Michigan, which is a stupendously good move on his part, because Michigan have no wide receivers, and they lost Colston Loveland. And they are blooding in the number 1 QB recruit in the country as a day 1 starting freshman in Bryce Underwood. Justice Haynes has got good hands out of the backfield and can catch, as well as in the run game take the burden off that freshman QB. And that's exactly what he's done so far. He's put up over 100 yards in each of his 2 games. Through 2 games, he's on 284 yards. Off 35 carries and 4 touchdowns. He's again, one of those was a bit of a cupcake game, week 1, but week 2, he did that against Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's defense is legit. It is a good SEC defense, and his touchdown score was a 75-yarder.
Surprisingly good long speed. That's what I had written down. Like the long speed, I'm like, I didn't see that coming. Like for such a big guy.
Yeah, man, and like I said, he's put himself in a great situation that don't be surprised if he keeps this start up. Don't be surprised to see him being the name that's taking that spot where Jonah Coleman is at the moment, around that kind of 111 back end of the first, because the talent's never been in question. It's just been about seeing it with regularity, and he hasn't always been afforded that opportunity to now.
Yeah, he's going to get a hell of a lot of opportunity. Like you said, at Michigan, they're going to run the ball a lot over there. So he's great at 2-6. And sticking with running backs, got to be honest, don't know much about this guy, Darius Taylor. Phil, you got to fill me in. How has he made the second round?
So Darius Taylor's an interesting one, and he comes with a buyer's beware label because we have seen guys at Minnesota. So Minnesota's offense, their entire offensive game plan is based around hammering the running back. Running backs in Minnesota are highly, highly productive. And we've seen guys make the league coming out of that system in the last few years who have gone on to do nothing. The most latest one would be Mo Ibrahim.
Oh, yeah.
So Mo Ibrahim put up insane numbers at Minnesota, and I don't even know if he's on a roster at the moment.
I think I picked him up on waivers last year, maybe the year before. I'm not sure. Yeah, he's I don't see him anywhere this year anywhere.
But the biggest difference for me is Darius Taylor is a very, very good pass catching back.
Okay.
He's productive as a rusher because of the system he plays in. But I think he had over 70 receptions last season. I would need to fact check that, but the numbers were high.
Okay.
And that PPR, those PPR chops give you the kind of Woody Marks feels. Like Woody
Nice.
Marks
Yeah,
wasn't ever the most outstanding rusher, but because of what he could do in the passing game, he was going to find a job and he was going to find work. And he has landed at the Texans in an opportunity where by fate and fortune or misfortune,
yeah.
you've got Joe Mixon injured. He's made the roster. He didn't contribute massively, but there's going to be a role because of what he can do on third down and in the pass catching game. And at the very least, I would expect Darius Taylor to do something similar.
Yeah, carve out a role for himself somewhere. And again, more homework for me, Phil. I'm going to check out some Darius Taylor over at Minnesota as
There
well.
you go.
Can't wait
I overranked it a
get into
little
the
bit.
tape.
It was 54 receptions he had last season.
That's still great. That's still
I
great,
mean,
right?
If that's PPR, that's 50 plus points from a running back. You know, the before his rushing, and last year he rushed for just shy of 1,000 yards as well, and he took those for 350 yards. So like I said, the tape shows that he can do that role and do it well as a pass catching back. And yeah, maybe 207 is a little high. We'll see how the season plays out. We'll see how the rest of things go. But he's definitely someone that you want at least on your radar. Look, maybe we get to draft season and he's a third round pick or a fourth round pick. Like maybe other guys emerge, maybe the landscape changes. But when you're looking for a guy late on, or like in those kind of mid to late rounds, who can separate and carve out a role for themselves, that pass catching should keep Darius Taylor relevant. And, you know, it's the reason I wanted to put him on the radar for people.
Absolutely love it. He's on my radar now for sure, Phil. I'll be checking him out. And next up, the guy already on my radar, got to say, know a bit about Dion Burks. Include the interesting way to spell Dion. I got that wrong a couple of times when I was trying to type it in. Dion Burks out of Oklahoma. He's had a pretty good start to the year, right?
He has. He's a very, very good college wide receiver. He's a kind of shifty, electric kind of guy. Gives me Zay Flowers feels. He can a guy his size you'd look at and just say slot only, but he's not. He lines up on the outside. He runs good routes. He's got a mix of everything. You've just got to be a little bit wary of the slight frame. He is a smaller guy. Like I said, he had a fantastic one-handed catch week one out towards the boundary. He's going to get plenty of targets because he's playing with John Mattia. But he's proved it in whatever system he was in. He was the standout guy at Purdue, transferred last season, but then spent the entire year banged up. For Dion Burks right now, he's another one who's got the potential to be fringe first rounder come draft time. You just need him to stack healthy games with some regularity as this season goes on.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll continue his fast start. I always like watching those sort of undersized players like get free and get into the open. It's always entertaining. Dion certainly has the entertainment about it, as does your guy. You had to get an Alabama guy in here somewhere, Phil, right? So
Absolutely.
Jeremy Bernard.
How are we nearly at the end of the second round and we're just first seeing an Alabama player? Jeremy Bernard is another one who's kind of waited his time and doesn't always get the respect he deserves because he plays on an offense with Ryan Williams. The technician, that's what he is. He's another craftsman. He runs unbelievable routes, like the kind of polish and high end finish. I mean, he played in a Washington wide receiver room with that kind of group of Adunze, McMillan, Polk. You know, but he was there. He was playing with those guys. He was the first guy to follow Kalen DeBoer across from Washington when he took the head coach's job at Alabama. And he's been given a more expansive role this year already. And he's thriving. He runs unbelievable routes. He's versatile alignment. He'll be a great kind of piece for any offense he lands on. Wheels up.
Not the easiest. I had one note as well. It's like looks like he'd be easy to bring down in open field, but isn't at all. Like you have to really get it right to bring him down. Right?
Yeah,
he's a good player for sure. And he's in a 2.9. That's showing you pretty good things about this class. You can get a player like Bernard at 2.9. Des Reed Man, he's another guy that's fun. He's tiny though, isn't he? He's real small.
He's another one. Like, look, he's electric. He gives you all the kind of pre-injury Naeem Hines. He could just break one from anywhere. He's so much fun to watch week in, week out. In CFF and college fantasy football, in C2C leagues, he's a first-round pick all day long because he's one of the most dynamic and electric players in college football. The size is concerning, but eventually you've just got to look at the production and go, someone's going to give this kid a shot. And in the right system, with the right touches, he's another one with pass-catching savvy, but he is so fast. If you play in a league where kick returns and punt returns score points as well, like kind of return yardage, he's electric. He's already housed a kick return so far this season. Look, how reliable he can be on a down-to-down basis as the kind of lead guy, who knows? But then people have the same questions about Devon Achane, and he is a very, very good fantasy player. Might not be the NFL's best running back in a traditional sense of what you're looking for, but this isn't an NFL scouting show. It's about guys that are going to score fantasy points. And Desmond Reed is as electric as they come.
Pair good fun this year. Weirdly, I think I quite enjoy a bit of Desmond, a bit of Poppy Williams in there as well. Blue Hicks, I've been like, there's a couple of players on Pet where I'm like, you're not going to set the world on fire, but you're good fun. So I enjoy watching him with Desmond. The main reason I'll watch a bit of Pitt for sure. Next up, we got another tight end on here. We got Eli Stowers. I'm not sure how he wants it pronounced out of Vanderbilt. Talk to me a little bit about Eli.
Big, strong, pass-catching tight end. He's playing in a great system. People might be familiar with him. They might have seen the SEC documentary this offseason that was on Netflix.
I'm yet to see that. I need to catch it. I was busy getting married and being on honeymoon. So I'm a bit behind.
Yeah, we'll let you off. No, he featured heavily on that as Diego Pavia's guy in one of the best seasons in recent Vanderbilt history. He's picked up right where he left off. He's got 8 receptions through 2 games with 115 yards and a touchdown. He's a pass catching weapon, but he's a big guy. He can block as well. I like him. I've seen more of him than I've seen of Kenyon Sadiq. Kenyon Sadiq's athletic profile is just that bit better. But when you're looking, you're right, tight ends, let's be honest, it's a crapshoot right until draft time.
Yeah.
This is a guy, I would have had him amongst the tight end 1 conversation this year had he come out. He made the decision to go back, and I see no reason why he won't be among the tight end 1 conversation again this year. I don't think there is a bona fide first round guy like we had with Loveland and Warren, but he could very easily end up being the guy picked at the top of the first rather than the back end of the first. The second.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see what happens there with Eli over at Vanderbilt. And Zachariah Branch. Now, I was sure, for some reason I had in my head that he was going to be a 2027 guy. Do you think he will be 26, or can you see him having a big year? Georgia, he started well for sure, and then just going, you know what, I'm coming out in 26.
Yeah, so he's a true junior, so he is draft eligible. The move to Georgia seems to have reinvigorated him. I'm going to be completely honest. He's not a my guy. He's not a my guy. I have some questions about how he projects to the next level. But there is no denying the speed. There's no there's no denying the shiftiness. And he's absolutely soaring at Georgia at the moment, and answering a lot of the questions that people had about him last year. He's got an average reception depth at the moment of 18.7 yards per reception. So he's taking the top off and keeping defenses honest. I worry a little bit about the size. There was just questions last year about whether the problems were him or the offense that was being called, because he regressed in a lot of categories, including his average depth of target. Like, they just didn't seem to be using him in an efficient way. So he's made this move to Georgia. People have raved about him all summer. He seems to have started the games well. Big game this weekend against Tennessee. And Tennessee look like they're going to be missing their top 2 corners this weekend as well. So that gives him an excellent chance to put, again, more good tape together. And I think he's just going to keep riding that crest of the wave. And if things keep going this year, he'll be a guy who, sneaks into the 2026 draft. I don't see him as a first-round NFL type guy. I think he's very much a day 2 guy. And so for that reason, I'll sneak him in here. He's a name that people will be familiar with. Let's see how it goes.
He feels like a name that people want to cheer for and want to do well,
right? Absolutely. Because the highlights are stunning.
Yeah.
And I guess we're just yet to see whether those flashes are because of a lack in his consistency, or just a victim of where he was in the scheme and what have you.
Yeah. So he's going in the second round. I'll definitely pick up a few Zachariah branches if he's available in the second round. And it's everyone's favorite part now, Phil. It's the sleepers. Even though we're in September, we've still got some sleepers for you, just in case. Hey, who knows? Some of these sleepers might end up being, second round, first round guys anyway, if they continue the trajectory that you've got them on. And let's start off with a guy I've never heard of. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't watch any North Dakota State. I know, is this the Trail? Is this the Trail Lance Carson Wentz College? Yeah.
This is the same. Carson Wentz, Christian Watson, Trey Lance. Now you might recognize that surname as well. That is Trey Lance's younger brother, Bryce.
No way. Oh, very cool.
He is a big, strong, fast wide receiver prospect. Great hands. Absolutely dominant at the FCS level. Now, that's the key thing to point out here. He's off a lot of people's radars because of the level of football he's playing. But it's a real difficult watch, the tape, because you've got to try and establish, is he as good as he looks, or is it because of the competition level?
Yeah.
There are people I trust in Devy circles and kind of deep kind of fantasy football circles who think this guy is legit. And I've even heard people talking about like high day 2 NFL draft capital. Look, the tape I've watched is fascinating because he's got a bit of everything. It's just trying to separate how much of it is scheme. North Dakota State are dominant at the FCS level, routinely kind of fighting for national championships at that level. And then, how much of it's the competition level, and what would it look like were he to step up? But this is a program that puts first round talent in the league. We've seen it.
Yeah.
And he's got a real shot. People won't know the name now at all, but I guarantee you, come draft time, everyone's going to start talking about him like they talked about him first. Well, they didn't. I did. Here, bookmark it.
Absolutely. We can put the timestamps on it and say you weren't here first. You're second after Phil. So we got Bryce Lance as a sleeper. And Phil, before we do wrap up, you got your credentials all here. Look at these business. I feel like I'm in American Psycho here. All these lovely business cards. Please tell us what you got going on before we wrap up the show.
Oh, yeah, man. So if you do it already, please drop me a follow on X at PoshPlayersFF. You can find all of my written media work for Seth and the awesome team at In Between Media. And then obviously the Fantasy Wildcard Devy podcast with myself and Jack once every 2 weeks. Again, you can follow us on X as well if you don't already do so.
Absolutely. Make sure you check out Phil and the Devy team, and in between media as well. All those guys are absolutely great over there. And Phil, that brings us to the end of your list. I've got a couple of guys just to quickly mention. I know we're way over time, but Phil, I'm having so much damn fun talking to you. I don't even care about the time. So I'm gonna throw you a couple of guys that this week have made my list. Okay, so tell me what you think of some of these guys. First of all, let's start with a guy who I can't believe is still playing college football. Demond Claiborne still going, still at Wake Forest. He was not playing very good competition this week, but I couldn't not put him on the list. He put up nearly 200 rushing yards.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you expect out of a guy like Claiborne who's been such a stalwart in college football? And does that translate at all? I think he might not, but he's putting up numbers.
He's got a chance. Like I know a couple of people who've watched his tape carefully, including kind of Jack Brentnell. Jack likes his tape and is a big fan.
He does.
If Jack says you're a fan, he's a fan, you should take notes. So shout out to Jack. It's a likable skill set, but you're right. He's been around a long time. You've got to wonder where the draft projections have been before now, and what NFL teams are seeing. But he's incredibly productive, and quite often productivity translates. So he's got a shot.
All right, let's go. Let's go two more. I got one for you as well. Who he keeps producing. He's making the list the second week in a row. Maybe the only player. In fact, he's not the only player to do it, but he's one of the only players to do it. Robert Henry Jr., who I'd never heard of before. My goodness me, he's playing well.
Yeah, he is. He is. Interestingly, on another Devy podcast that I listen to quite regularly, he was a deep dive player for them, where they kind of really try and unearth the gem that people aren't talking about. He's been known in CFF circles for a while. Highly productive college football back. What that looks like at the next level remains to be seen. He would likely be a kind of day 3, maybe priority UDFA. But there's absolutely no doubt in the production at the moment. He's set off like a house on fire this season.
Yeah, absolutely. He's playing really, really well. And let's go one more. And I'm not sure if this guy is eligible or not, but let's go with another running back, shall we? Let's go Gavin Sawchuk. I believe, great name, out of Florida State. Is he eligible in 26?
I think so. I'm fairly certain. So he transferred out of Oklahoma and has joined Florida State this year. And you're right. He's another one that started really, really well. Kind of jack of all trades, dare I say it. He doesn't have any outrageous kind of superpower. And I think when you're looking at those kind of top 2 or 3 rounds of your fantasy drafts, you're looking for a guy that has got a thing that they do well. And the more things you do well, the better. Gavin Sawchuk is a very productive, very solid college player. He's the type of guy that if you've got a late round, if you've got a 5th round pick sitting that you collected as lint, pocket lint in a trade for another asset, sling it his way, because again, we know with those running backs, like if they land on a roster, there's opportunity. All they need is to get drafted day 3, and with the turnover at the position, there's always the chance that they could take the opportunity and not let it go.
Absolutely agreed. And final thing, and I hate to end on maybe a negative to end on. Overall, right now, not great, right? It's an okay class, but I'm like, all I could do is look towards 27 and just be in awe of the players that are there. I advised a year ago to people to trade out their 26 firsts for 27 firsts. A lot of people didn't like that. Are you trying to do that right now, or do you trust in this 26 class and the talent coming through, and we'll just get more and more and more excited, and eventually we'll think, oh, it is actually a fine class? What's your thoughts on the 26 versus 27 firsts?
There's an awful lot of the landscape has never been more unsure because of NIL and because of the transfer portal. originally people were saying Archer will be 2026, and we've said it's very unlikely. I mean, I left him out of this because we think he's going to go back. We've talked about Lenoris Sellers, could be 26, could be 27. DJ Lagway could be 27, could be 28. Like we don't know, because the portal and NIL are changing kids' perspective. They're not as keen or quick to get to the league necessarily if they're onto a good thing at college, and they believe that staying in longer is going to help them. It's a difficult one to say. What I would say right now is I feel like this is going to be a very, very good class if you need a quarterback, because the names that are available and the opportunities for starting roles, as I mentioned earlier, I think if you need a quarterback, this could be the class where you could get a guy that you can set for years to come. Skill position wise, if you're after wide receivers and running backs, guys will emerge. But you're right, like we're so kind of doughy-eyed over the prospects of this next batch in 2027 that if people are offering me a first in a trade, I'm looking, I build my rosters around making sure that wherever possible I've got my QBs set. So what I always want to do is keep reloading on skill players. So if people are offering me a first, I'm asking for a 27 rather than a 26. But that doesn't mean there's players who aren't going to make an impact. And I hope we've gone through a couple of them tonight.
I think we definitely have, Phil. You've absolutely smashed it. As always, last year we said October was far too late to start this. So I'm glad we're going in September. And of course, Phil, we'll have you back on later in the year where we'll review who you took in this run and who you're taking as we get closer and closer to the draft. Want to thank you one more time, mate, for coming on. And thanks everybody at home for listening as well. Make sure you've done all the liking and subscribing. Leave a comment, any players that you like in the 2026 class. Be great to hear from you. But guys, just remember, for anything Dynasty, you need to know you want to keep it locked right here on the Certified Inferno. We'll see you later.